Welcome back, Atlanta Falcons fans, to my final 2025 Atlanta Falcons mock draft. We'll be exploring a trade back scenario in this video, and I'm excited to kick it off. Final mock draft, here we go. So I decided for the final mock draft, why not do a trade back? Why not, go out there and explore it? The Falcons have been interested in trading back. The Houston Texans are a team that have been interested in trading up. So we're trading away 15 and 218 in the 7th, and we will be receiving from the Houston Texans 25, 79 in the 3rd, 166 in the 5th. Now, it may not seem like a crazy haul, but this is about what I would expect the Falcons to get. Importantly for the Falcons, they get their 3rd rounder back that they lost from the Matt Judon trade, and their 5th rounder that got taken away from the Kirk Cousins tampering in free agency. And with this pick, round 1, pick 25, we're going to be taking James Pierce Jr., the edge rusher out of Tennessee. Now, this is a guy that has caught steam in the last few days. Jonathan Jones, who has been pretty accurate with the Falcons pick the last few years, mocked him yesterday. Todd McShay talked about that the Falcons might be interested in him, even looking at his character concerns, they're willing to look past that. Obviously, it's not set in stone, but, pretty reliable sources there. And, the thing about James Pierce is I love James Pierce's game, right? I think he's a great edge defender. I think he's around a top 15 to 20, 25 talent in this class. So I think this is good value if you pick him at 25. I wouldn't mind it, at 15 either. Again, I think you look at his production in college, right? His pressure rate, his ability to get to the quarterback, all of that has been really high. Ran a 4.47 at the combine. And, when you turn this dude's tape on, he's explosive. He's constantly the first guy off the ball all the time. Like, he times the snap really well. There's times you're like, how in the world, was he not offsides? He's very explosive, right? And that's where he wins mostly is as an athlete, as a speed rusher. He does have a good speed to power move. He can kind of push the tackle back into the pocket and does a really good job of that. I think in the run defense, he could be a little more physical. He could set the edge a little bit better. That's something that obviously he's working on, right? He's only about 245, 50 pounds. So that shows sometimes when he's playing larger tackles. But I think that his pass rush upside is so high at times that you're like, this is a guy worth taking a chance on. In the Alabama game, he was unblockable. There were about 3-4 straight weeks this year that he was just completely unblockable. You look at his 2023 tape, he was very good there. He was even being mocked maybe as a potential first overall pick. I think 2024 was maybe slightly disappointing. He dealt with some injuries, but, you bet on the upside with Pierce. The question is going to be the character concerns, but he could absolutely be a guy that if you draft him, you let him come in here, he could take over the Falcons pass rush day one and, potentially be a high upside pass rusher for years to come. So I think trading back and still being able to get James Pierce would be a big move here for the Falcons. In round 2, pick 48, we have Tyleik Williams, a defensive tackle out of Ohio State. Could see him going a lot earlier than this, but, man, this dude is just an anchor in the middle, right? He clogs the run. They need a body in this defense. They need a dude who can just line up, just throw dudes aside, and, just be a really solid anchor in the middle of that defense. And Tyleik Williams can absolutely do that. I think he's probably the best pure run defender in this class. The Falcons, obviously, getting rid of Grady Jarrett. They still have David Onyemata, Ruggiero, questions there, but I don't think any of those guys are going to have the upside, the ability, the size to clog the run like Tyleik Williams could do. And I think he could step in day one and be easily the best run defender on this Falcons team. And he's a huge presence in the middle. Could be a day one contributor for the Falcons. So I think this would be a great pick here in the second round. In round 3, pick 79, we have Darian Porter, the cornerback out of Iowa State. Right here, you're taking a chance on a guy with crazy traits, right? He's 6'3", 195, 33 1/8 arms, and ran a 4.3 at the combine. When you turn on this guy's tape, right, his length, his, long speed, and, his size really just impresses you. He reminds you kind of like a Tariq Woolen type player. I know that's kind of probably a lazy comparison, but there's not many guys in the NFL that have that crazy length and speed that Darian Porter does. Now, he is a 6-year senior, so he's a lot older, so, there's going to be questions, okay, how much room does he have to grow? But I think it's absolutely worth taking a shot on. I think Again, I think that the Falcons maybe want to, focus on, okay, maybe add some size to this cornerback room, because right now, Mike Hughes, Clark Phillips and D. Alford, those are all guys that you're going to be relying on, at least as it looks right now, to play heavy minutes, heavy snaps in 2025. And so, in my opinion, you need to add a little bit of size to that cornerback room. I don't think Kevin King's going to absolutely get the job done there. So I think Darian Porter could be a really good addition here with high upside. And I think this is a good pick here for the Falcons. Round 4, pick 118, we have Seth McLaughlin, the center out of Ohio State. Played most of his college career at Bama. This is a pick that I could see the Falcons doing. They need someone to come in and compete with Ryan Newsel at center. Seth McLaughlin is a guy who obviously played at a high pedigree, played at Alabama, played at Ohio State, was playing really well until his injury this year. He's a local kid too. He's from the Georgia area, so can absolutely see the Falcons taking, a center within this range, and I think Seth McLaughlin could fit that billing. I don't necessarily think that the Falcons should force their hands for a center, just to do it, but I wouldn't mind this pick here. I don't think I'd be thrilled, but again, center is sort of a need. You need someone to compete with Newsel, so could absolutely see this happening here. Round 5, pick 166, we have R.J. Mickens, the safety out of Clemson. I think that the Falcons still should and could add to the safety room. I think, obviously, it's going to be good to get DeMarco Helms back. You signed Jordan Fuller. But I think that R.J. Mickens is a guy who, not going to show you anything crazy, is an athlete, not anything crazy, in coverage. But he's a solid player, he's got good instincts, right? Is a good tackler, wraps up well. And, within these mid to late rounds, round 5, this is not a bad pick to take a chance on. And when you have a 5th round pick, this is the type of bets that you could take. And, if he can come in, you trust the instincts, maybe he develops quickly to a pro-ready player. And closing out the mock draft in round 7, pick 242, we have Caleb Etienne, offensive tackle out of BYU. This is mostly just kind of, throwing a dart at the wall and kind of just hoping that it sticks here. The Falcons, I don't think that they have a pressing needed offensive tackle, but they do need to draft one maybe to develop and see what he can give you. Caleb Etienne's a huge guy, around 6'7", 330 pounds, has good athleticism, for his size. And in the 7th round here, again, you're kind of just, if you see some upside, you take a chance on it. Caleb Etienne's big. He moves pretty well for his size, and, it could be a pick that pays off here for the Falcons. And with that, my final 2025 Atlanta Falcons mock draft is completed. If you can, please like, comment, subscribe. It means a lot. Want to reach as many Falcons fans as we can. Let me know your feedback. Let me know what you think. Draft season is upon us. We are so close. Can't wait. Gonna have a reaction to the pick after it's made, and we're here. I'm excited. And as always, rise up.